Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Looks like we already got lots of people in the chat. Everyone knows what to do. You say where you're from, where you're calling in from. So we've got Texas, Kansas City, Oxford, UK. Funny story, Mark and I are actually both in San Diego. We're like 15 minutes from each other and didn't know it. I invited Mark to participate and looked him up on LinkedIn, and I was like, hey, you're right here. So yeah, anyone else from San Diego? Oh my gosh, lots of people. Okay, cool. Oh, Carlsbad. We've got someone
There
close.
we go.
Orange County, close to us in San Diego. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm sure we've got lots of registrations for this, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of people trickling in. But I like to get started with this stuff right away. We will send out the recording afterwards, so it'll automatically be sent out. And then we're going to be publishing a lot of like bite-sized bits of content about kind of the stuff that we learn today as well. So stay tuned for that. But everyone who is here, if you have to leave early or anything like that, the recording will be sent out. Okay, cool. So I will run through kind of a quick plan for today and what we're going to cover. I see it's echoey for someone. Let me know if anyone else is feeling like the audio's echoey. Okay, great. I think we're good. Okay, so my name's Kim. I'm the CEO at Arrows. Arrows is a HubSpot app partner. We've been in the HubSpot ecosystem for almost 4 years. We initially were building customer onboarding plans, so really like post-sale mutual action plans that connect really deeply to HubSpot. We recently launched sales rooms as well, but for this webinar, we're going to really focus on the onboarding post-sale kind of workflows because we're talking about project management inside HubSpot. With Mark. So everyone's already very active in the chat, which is awesome. Please drop questions in there as we go. We are going to do like a 10 to 15 minute Q&A at the end because I know there's a lot of questions about projects and Mark is super down to answer all of them. But if you have questions as we're going through things, we're going to do our best to try to pick some of them out, and we'll try to stop if it's kind of in the flow of what we're talking about to answer. So feel free to dump them in there. Okay, so we're going to do quick intros. We're going to talk kind of about like the background of projects. I'll talk kind of about how we've been seeing it with our customers using projects at Arrows. Mark will talk about kind of like the context behind it and why HubSpot is doing this. I'll do kind of like a live demo of projects where, again, you guys can ask any questions that you want, and Mark will kind of show us how to set up the different views and all of that. And then at the end, Mark is going to talk through some of the timelines and roadmap for some of the other features that I know people are really, really excited about. So all of that is going to be coming. Cool. Mark, do you want to kind of give your intro and share your background, how you started working on projects?
Sure, sounds good. So just a little bit about me. I joined HubSpot a little over 2 years ago. I started working out on permissions. And then after about a year of doing that, I started to work on something new at HubSpot called multi-account management, which some of you may or may not know about. It's basically a set of features that help some of HubSpot's larger customers manage their business in HubSpot using different HubSpot accounts or portals. And since about 3 or 4 months ago, which is a little bit before inbound of last year, was when projects started to be conceived, and I started to work on that. So I've now switched over to that. I mostly just like to work on new things and got pulled into projects. So I'm here, excited about it, and ready to work on it. A little bit of fun facts about me. I have a 1-year-old daughter. As Kim mentioned, live in San Diego, and my favorite hobbies are yoga and cooking. Cool. I think there was one more thing we want to talk about, just like as a next piece, just to give a little context for the group. Hopefully this should still work. Great, cool. So just so everyone is on the same page, HubSpot launched the project object, and we use the word object because HubSpot has this concept called the HubSpot framework, which is basically how data is stored in HubSpot. So contacts, deals, tickets, companies, et cetera. They're all what we call CRM objects. And project was a new one that was launched at Inbound of 2025. And for people who aren't aware of what Inbound is, it's HubSpot every year does this large conference where we announce some of our larger product changes, which was in September. As part of launching projects, we also launched it with a new Gantt view. And in general, the thinking of why HubSpot decided to launch projects was a couple of things. One is that we believe that for certain use cases, such as the one Kim mentioned around service delivery or post sales, that having access to your customer data is really important for pairing that with the project that you're going to manage. The second is that for certain go-to-market project management use cases, your teams are already in HubSpot. The third is that by bringing these projects into HubSpot, you now can go from a lead to a customer set of data within HubSpot. So all of your data becomes in one place from a reporting perspective. And then finally, we have a bunch of tools that help you actually accomplish your work. So now being able to unify the planning and accomplishment of that work is generally a beneficial thing for customers when it comes to project management. Cool. Now, Kim, you can go from here.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to share a little bit of context kind of from the Arrow standpoint. So obviously I mentioned, so we've been in the HubSpot ecosystem, and 99% of our customers up until just about a month ago were HubSpot users, and we're running customer onboarding and post-sale processes inside HubSpot. So we're really familiar with that. As Mark said, this officially was announced at Inbound this year. So our team was there, and we actually had a lot of customers that were there as well. And pretty much instantly, as soon as the project object was announced, we started getting customers actually coming up to us at Inbound saying, can we use projects for onboarding, or can Arrows integrate with it? We actually just launched our integration maybe like 3 weeks or so ago. So Arrows does now fully integrate with projects. And I think it's just been really interesting to see how quickly people are starting to feel like, oh, this is an object that I'm really interested in investing in. And I've said this a little bit before too, but it's clear you can see in the kind of in development features in HubSpot that HubSpot is investing in projects, and we've got Mark here to tell us about it as well. But I think it's feeling really exciting, and it seems like the HubSpot customers are interested and excited about this, and then HubSpot obviously is investing pretty heavily also. Maybe I wonder if there's some like context setting, Mark, around, because I know Joshua asked one question earlier, like services versus projects. So services launched, was it like a year or so ago? And I think since projects launched, it's felt a little bit like, oh, which one should we be using for post-sale? Because I think both have felt pretty strong in that case. Do you have any kind of thoughts on how they fit together, or how projects fits with services?
Yeah, definitely. So the service object was created, as you mentioned, a little over a year ago. The way we've come to think about it is that the service object is really a subset of a use case for a project, because there's a bunch of different use cases that you can have for project management, one of which is service delivery. And as the team has thought about that more, we've started to think that a more generic object like a project is a better direction for the company to go. And with that in mind, what we're doing is we're investing more into the project object, and we are debating what the future of the service object should be. We are considering options like sunsetting or deprecating the service object. We're considering renaming it to a different object that reduces experience confusion. Or we're still also open to the idea of, is there a valid set of use cases for a service object that's separate from a project object? But what I would encourage people who are using the service object for service delivery is to evaluate when they should switch over to using the project object. This is already exemplified. If you, for example, are using the service object within the customer success workspace, there was a recent rollout where now the service tab within the customer success workspace has been renamed to projects, and the default object that's recommended in that workspace is the project object. So that's basically the context on what we're thinking with the service object today.
Okay, really interesting. Are you, a couple questions in here, are you able to rename the project's object like you can for other objects?
Yes, the project object can be renamed today.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. Love getting into the hard-hitting questions right away. Okay, I think maybe, Mark, is there anything else that you could share or want to share about kind of how HubSpot is thinking about? I think it was kind of like, there were a lot of people who were like, oh, this is perfect for like marketing campaigns or for post sales. I think is a really obvious use case for this. And I think there were certainly a lot of people that were like, HubSpot coming for project management, like what is this? So do you have any more kind of context or anything you could share about kind of the decision where you are seeing HubSpot fitting into kind of that space? And maybe like now versus the future?
Yeah, sure. I think just to start out, like I think the idea of what we see from customers when we speak with them is that for certain project management use cases that relate to go-to-market personas that HubSpot has success with, that what's been happening before we built project management was that they would do some of the workflow of that use case in HubSpot, and then what would happen is they would need to move into another software to finish that use case. And having to move between different softwares to accomplish a use case is generally not a great thing. And so what we're trying to set out is by picking use cases that are relevant to personas that HubSpot already has within HubSpot or generally are related to the ones that are within HubSpot, and trying to help them manage that end-to-end process inside of a single software. Maybe just to share this, to show this for a second, what we've seen when we speak with customers, that there are three most common use cases that customers want to use HubSpot for project management. The first is a higher level one that we'll call service delivery. So for example, that's like onboarding to a software like Arrows. It's professional services like a solution partner, or perhaps it's a physical goods delivery process, manufacturing delivery. So we spoke to a customer, for example, that does restaurant signage production that they then deliver to a customer. The second use case is marketing campaigns, where frequently when you have a marketing campaign, you want to do some project management that's part of it. And the final one is when it comes to sales and account management. For some of these more upmarket, complex service sales and go-to-market models, there's a need sometimes to have a container for a set of tasks. So for example, with sales, they want to have like an enterprise strategic sales project sometimes, or for account management, they want to have an annual account plan that's represented as a project. So what you could see when you see these different use cases is that it's not really like a big departure from where HubSpot has traditionally succeeded. We've always been going after marketing, sales, and service personas, and these use cases are really just an extension of those personas, is the way that I've thought about it. So what I saw there was a question of how we think about ourselves versus another project management software like Asana or work management like ClickUp, et cetera. The way that I think about it is what we're trying to do is we are going after use cases that are relevant for some of the existing personas that use HubSpot, and trying to provide them the set of capabilities that they need to be able to accomplish that use case in HubSpot without leaving if they would like to. For certain businesses that are using a third-party project management software, we are also working on integrations so that you can have more of a seamless connection between them. So for example, like with marketing campaigns, with the Marketing Studio feature that's in beta, we are building an agnostic solution there where you may do your project management within HubSpot, or you may do your project management elsewhere. We want to have that be a seamless connection between them. Ultimately, HubSpot is never going to have the feature depth that a software like Asana or ClickUp has. It's really solving for like a common denominator of requested features that hopefully can enable many customers to use this use case. But there will still be tons of valid reasons why a business may want to do some or all of their project management in another software, or some of the enterprise customers may decide that no matter what, we're not going to do this use case in HubSpot because we just aren't as feature rich as some of the other solutions that exist in the market. Happy to answer follow-up questions on that for anyone that wanted to talk about, but maybe that was a starting point of setting some of the context on what we're going after.
Yeah, I think that's great. That was a lot of the questions in the chat. I think a couple of these, I think we're going to get to kind of toward the end, because I do, a lot of the questions right now are from HubSpot partners, which we know and love you all. And there are a lot of people on here who are not as like in the weeds with all of this stuff. So I also want to make sure we get to a little bit more of like here's what it is, here are the views, that kind of stuff. So I do want to do like a quick demo so we can actually show that part of it. And we will get to like some of these deeper questions and the more complex questions as well. One of the other things that is coming up is like timelines on things that are in development that you're all seeing now, and then things like capacity management, time tracking. Those are all things that are being planned, and Mark will share that kind of stuff and some timelines around that toward the end of this as well. Okay. Anything else you want to cover, Mark, before we jump in and I can start showing people around?
No, that sounds good.
Okay, let's do it. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So one of the things, here we go. So one of the things that people were most excited about, I think, when the project object was announced at Inbound was this Gantt view. So this is available in other objects, I believe, right, Mark?
It's available for deals and services. Okay. And it's currently in an automated rollout targeting to be fully available for all customers in January.
Okay, perfect. But it is a public beta. So if you, in HubSpot, if you go to product updates here and just search for Gantt, I believe, you'll be able to enroll in the public beta to have this view here. And then once you have that turned on in any of your those objects that Mark just mentioned, you'll have these view types here. So there's the Gantt view, and that's kind of how you can see this. But you also have your board view or table view that you're already used to in other objects. And then is the calendar view new with this rollout as well?
That is the calendar view. I believe it originally existed in Marketing Hub, but I believe it's new in terms of bringing it to some of our CRM index pages.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's take a look at the Gantt view because again, I think this is the thing that a lot of people are excited about. So basically, I've got a bunch of different projects that I set up here inside my view, and basically you can set all of these dates here are based on a like start and target date, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, start date and target date. So those can be set for the project. Mark, jump in if I'm saying anything weird or you want me to dive into anything further. So I think that was pretty cool to see like how you can adjust this. You can, if you know the project's going to be extended, you can drag it right from here and it'll automatically adjust the target date or start date that you're setting up. I think the other thing that is interesting is how it connects to HubSpot tasks. Obviously, that's a huge thing for the internal project management. And so this is an example of a project where I have some internal tasks set up here. And so you can basically open up this view, and on that Gantt view, you can see the different tasks. You can adjust the due dates, all of that in here to see kind of what are the tasks that are happening within each of these projects. Anything you'd add to this?
Nope, that was good.
Mark? Okay. Cool. And let me know if there's any, oh, maybe let's talk about a couple of the quick, like the in production things like the conditional tasks, because I think those are relevant for like things that people are thinking about on the Gantt view. Or like, task, I think it's like conditional or dependent tasks was one of them.
Yep, sure. So two of the projects, which we'll touch upon later, but we can that are part of the roadmap. So two things that we're currently working on are subtasks and dependencies between tasks. So subtasks is currently in development and will be available in a beta in January. So the idea here is that you see how right now the hierarchy of data in the Gantt view is that it's projects and then tasks. There will now be a third level, which is projects, tasks, and subtasks that are going to be shown here. You'll also be able to create those within the project record itself. Then the second thing is around dependencies. So what this means is that say that a task, it shouldn't be started until another task is finished. That is called a dependency. It's a pretty standard concept in project management. And so we're enabling the ability to have dependencies between tasks. Those can be managed when you create or edit a task, but they will also be able to be visualized, edited, created, and deleted directly from within the Gantt view of, you see these the visualized task bars on the right hand side. You'll be able to drag and drop arrows between the tasks. I saw there was a question around critical path. So for people that aren't familiar, what the critical path refers to is, say you have various dependencies between the tasks in your project. There will be some sequencing of work that is really the slowest path of work that needs to happen in order to accomplish a project. That is something that we're evaluating, not as part of the beta version of dependencies, but potentially as a GA version. So the beta we're looking to do for dependencies around March or April of next year, and the GA would be probably at some point in the summer of next year.
Okay, awesome. I do, because we have quite a few Arrows customers on here as well, I do want to quickly show kind of how Arrows, because I mentioned Arrows does now integrate with the project object. I'm not sure if there are a lot of other apps that have integrated right away, but we're really excited. And like I said, we've got lots of customers who have already switched over to using projects for customer onboarding and managing post sales. And I think maybe that is a thing. You mentioned this a little bit earlier, but projects connects to the CS workspace, Mark, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. So I think that's, I think, a huge reason why people are feeling excited about connecting customer onboarding or service delivery, I guess, to projects as well. But this actually operates really similarly to, or basically the exact same as other objects that Arrows connects to. So deals, tickets, custom objects, and services. We rolled out this support. So basically inside the project object, you can open and view and manage your onboarding plan directly from here. I think the one thing for, again, Arrows customers and partners, and I know, Noelle, you're here. I know you'll be excited about this too. But I think the thing that's really cool is we have a feature in Arrows that is called like task completion action. So basically Arrows is like the customer facing onboarding layer that you would share with your customers. And then we have a notion of completion action. So in this example, my task for my customer is to upload your menu. We have a completion action saying when this task is completed, create a new task in HubSpot. And so I've got that set up on the back end. And so when I am actually in this task, or let's say your customer is in this task, and let's say they upload their menu here, we'll mark that task as done. It might take just a minute here, but basically what'll happen is you'll have your progress updated inside Arrows. And I think it just does take a minute here to update on the task, but I set it up right before this. Oh no, there it is. So my task is now visible inside the project object, inside the task view here. And if I go back to the Gantt view, you'll be able to see, so this is the project we were looking at earlier, and you'll be able to see that task that was created, that was triggered based on the Arrows customer task completion will be in this Gantt view as well. So I think that's a really cool way to think about how Arrows becomes like the customer facing layer for onboarding. And then a lot of our customers have been wanting a better way to manage their internal tasks and internal project management. And so this is a perfect way to have a more visual setup here. Plus, you can integrate a lot of other of the kind of in development features that are going to be coming too. Okay, cool. The other couple of things that we wanted to call out here for the demo or showing how it works is workflows. So you can use workflows to create projects. So I think, again, like very common use case for almost all of our customers for post-sale is like a deal gets moved to close one in the sales pipeline, and then you can automatically create a project. That gets into project templates a bit, Mark. And I know we're going to talk about timeline in a bit, but maybe if you could share a little bit more about how you're thinking about those.
Sure. So project templates are a pretty commonly requested feature. Again, they're like a pretty classic concept for project management. It's particularly relevant for an onboarding or service delivery use case because frequently what a template really is just saying that when you create a project, we want to create a certain set of associated tasks for that project. And so it's mostly, you could say it's like a repeatable business process. And what we could say is with onboarding and service delivery, usually that's a repeatable business process. So it's no one wants to have to manually create 20 different, 30 different tasks whenever they create a project. And then also, how do you ensure, as say you're a manager in customer success or onboarding, how are you ensuring that each of your team members are actually creating the consistent process if it's not a template? So the need is very clear for it. It's a feature that's currently in development that also is aiming for a beta sometime around April or so next year.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to touch on in the demo?
No, I think that's fine. We can also see what questions come up and talk about them.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I knew there were going to be a lot of questions, but there's probably more than I even expected. So it's a lot to go through. Any that you wanted to start jumping into right away?
I think maybe we could just go through the roadmap a little bit and then segue into questions.
Okay, perfect. Let's do that.
Cool. All righty. So I'm going to pop over here. Okay, so for where we're heading, I think the way that I would describe things is that HubSpot launched projects at Inbound 2025 as a new object. We just added the Gantt view, but we were still missing a lot of core capabilities that you think about when you think of project management. So what we've heard in our conversations with customers is that people are excited to do these certain use cases like service delivery, marketing campaign, project management in HubSpot, but we're still missing some of these foundational items that are required for them to want to bring the use case into HubSpot. So what we're focused on between now and the next 9 or 12 months or so is making sure that we have great experiences and capabilities for the two most important use cases that we're focusing on. And how that manifests then is that we have core capabilities that we're building. And then we're also thinking about how these experiences should exist in HubSpot. And so I'll touch upon that in a second. So in terms of core capabilities, we already touched on 3 of them: subtasks, dependencies, and templates. And I have designs for some of these. For some of them, I don't have designs. So after this slide, where I do have designs available, I'll just show them with a little bit more information. So we have subtasks, which is entering a beta in January. We have dependencies, which is entering a beta around April. We have project templates, which is entering a beta around April. We have status updates, which we haven't spoken about, but basically it's the ability to post information about your project and then share it with both internal and external people who are relevant for that project. That will enter a beta in approximately January. We have custom properties for tasks. So for example, on a service delivery or onboarding project, you may want to have a custom property for, let's just say, trying to think of a good one off the top of my head. Can't think of one on top of my head, but custom properties are a pretty standard concept for people wanting to add more flexibility to tasks. The next one is projects in the customer portal, is something that we're evaluating. This would have some similarities to what Arrows does. And so there will be some customers who don't use a software like Arrows that will benefit from being able to share a project externally. Then we're looking into resource management capabilities. So the two that we're exploring are time tracking and a workload view, which I can talk more about and answer some questions on. Those are in terms of a lot of the way I would describe that is like, hopefully if you all read these capabilities, you'd say, oh yeah, these are what I think of as the foundational capabilities that I would need for either myself or my customers, if you're a solution partner, to want to use projects in HubSpot. And that's really what we're extremely focused on. So as I mentioned, the two use cases that we're thinking about are service delivery and marketing campaign project management. And those personas operate not just in the project index and record page that we have, they also work in their hub-oriented experiences, we could say. So for customer success, when it comes to onboarding service delivery, there's a customer success workspace available within Service Hub that projects already now exist in and will continue to mature. And then for Marketing Studio, which is a new version of how marketing campaigns are managed in HubSpot, we're looking to bring projects into that experience so that customers can plan, manage, and report on their campaigns without leaving Marketing Studio. So now let's pop through a couple slides that just go into some of the details. So for subtasks, somebody was asking, this is mostly just to show where I do have visuals. I'll show you some brief visuals. So what you can see here is that if you think about what Kim was showing, that today there's only 2 layers into a Gantt view. There is the project and the tasks. And now what you'll see is that there's a 3rd layer that will be available, which is subtasks, which can be collapsed here. And you can create a subtask, for example, when you, next to a task, click a plus button, and you'll see this subtask form. Next, we have status updates. So what you're seeing here is a design where this is a preview for a project, and you'll see that there's a new card, which are called CRM cards in HubSpot, where you're able to post a status update. You can create a new status update. It's not shown in this screenshot, but you'll be able to share it. So there will be both notifications for HubSpot users, as well as an easy ability to send an email to the associated contacts of a project. So for example, if you're doing an onboarding project, you might want to send a status update to a client or customer. The third is dependencies. So what you're seeing here is a visualization of seeing how dependencies have some of the lines between the tasks, and you'll be able to drag and drop those, edit those, etc. Next, we have templates, which I spoke through a little bit. So what you're seeing here is a settings page for projects. And now what you'll have is a project template section. Now I don't have the designs here of the whole flow, but the idea is that you'll create a template, and within it, you'll be able to predefine tasks in the template so that when you go and use this template, when you're creating a project, you'll be able to automatically create those tasks. This will be available both for manual project creation. So for example, if you click a create project button in the product, as well as through workflows if you go to create a project using a workflow. Next up, I'm not sure how many more I have. It might be the last one. I think we're getting close. So I actually think this is now live. So projects is now in the customer success workspace. So what you can see is that we renamed this tab here from service to projects. And you can see that projects are now here. They're the default object. And now the Gantt view is actually also available within the customer success workspace. And I think that's it in terms of me sharing some of the roadmap information. I'm happy to go into more detail on any of those items now for everyone that would like to as we go into some of the Q&A.
Yeah, I think let's get into the Q&A. We've got lots of questions here. I've been trying to go through and clean things up. People are excited about the time tracking. Let's see. Okay, we've got a couple questions on forms. Are they going to be available in projects? I'm not, do you know what that is getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now with forms, they basically only update certain. First of all, I'm not an expert on forms, but I'm loosely familiar with what the use case is. So forms today, they mainly update information, for example, on contacts and I think one or so other objects. And basically what we've been seeing is that customers are not yet effectively able to have a form that then either creates projects or will update properties on a project. This is something that we're talking with that team about. And for what it's worth, as like a bonus set of information, they're also looking to extend that to other objects such as deals, which has been a highly requested thing that hasn't existed for forms. So that conversation is ongoing. We don't have a specific timeline, but it's something that we're talking with them about.
Okay, one question. There's a lot of questions, so I'm gonna just shoot all of them in, and they're not gonna be connected to each other.
Sure,
So
let's do it.
go. Joshua's asked a couple of times, what is seat access going to look like? Any thoughts there?
Sure. So first we could say Projects is available for customers on free. It does not have any specific pricing limits. There are some object limits that are very high that hopefully people don't run into, but generally you could say Projects is available for without any specific hub purchase. How it works is that in order to create or edit projects, you have to have a core seat, which is consistent with basically how all of the CRM objects function, where you can have a view seat to view information, and you need a core seat in order to create or edit the CRM objects. It is worth noting that in terms of using projects in the CS workspace, that requires a Service Hub Pro or Enterprise seat. And then in terms of using projects within Marketing Studio, which doesn't exist just yet, Marketing Studio requires Marketing Hub Pro or Enterprise.
One of the questions we got also was a lot of the project management tools that people are familiar with and already using are integrated to other objects in HubSpot.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of a push to get those types of tools to integrate with projects?
A lot of that is dependent upon those softwares wanting to build the integrations. I can share that last year, HubSpot built its own data sync with Monday.com, where we enabled you to sync projects information between them. We're in a conversation right now with Asana, who's interested in building a bidirectional integration for both projects and tasks between the two softwares. And that's like the main two that we've made progress on. We're looking to have a conversation with ClickUp, but we haven't yet had that scheduled yet. I think overall, the hope would be over time that we could have integrations that sync project and task data between us and these other project management softwares. But that will depend upon both our willingness to build the integrations and theirs as well, without us having like a very clear plan of the progress there, other than the two that I mentioned, Monday.com being one we built and Asana being one that they're currently talking about building to support us.
Okay, cool. That's helpful and exciting. For a lot of people, I'm sure. I
guess one thing that I would mention, it's kind of related to Arrows having just built an integration. At the inbound launch, we didn't have public APIs for projects, which means no one's building an integration if we don't have public APIs. So the first step we've made in the process is we built public APIs, which were only released a few weeks ago, and Arrows built on top of it in a matter of a week or so. So I think you can expect that more integration partners will build upon the public APIs over time.
All right, we got one note just saying Jira would be great. We hear that a lot on our end as well.
Yeah, Jira's interesting. I guess what I would say, just to build the context for everyone, the way we've thought about it is that HubSpot has the best reasonable opportunity to succeed when thinking about project management that's related to the personas or the adjacent personas that already use HubSpot. So HubSpot goes after marketing, sales, and service types of departments. And there are project management use cases within them that are for users that already use HubSpot. So to give an example of that, in marketing, a marketing manager is already using HubSpot to run a campaign, but they also do project management that wasn't available in HubSpot. So it's great for us to solve for them. A persona that doesn't really use HubSpot that's similar in marketing is product marketing. They could be able to run their product marketing use cases in HubSpot, but they don't today. And so it makes sense for us to go after that type of a persona at some point to use HubSpot. When it comes to what I would call more internal departments, so for example, product design, engineering, they are a type of user for project management, but they're one that HubSpot is not initially going to solve for because it's they don't have a lot of value of specifically doing that process in HubSpot. When it comes to the other front office personas, we have data, we have the other front office teams, we have tools that you can leverage for completing work in HubSpot. We're building Breeze agents that will help you accomplish that work. It makes sense that they'll want to do project management. It will take my viewpoint is that it will take a lot of change in terms of the evolution of HubSpot and the project management to say, like, why would a product manager or an engineer use HubSpot instead of Jira? And so that's why, like, we are not focused on that type of use case or persona that much in the short term.
I'll just share on behalf of our customers at Arrows for the use case for Jira. I think a lot of times, especially for SaaS companies, like they do have their product teams in Jira. And so they're doing customer facing work. Their customer delivers some kind of information. Their like go-to-market team or the delivery team is doing some kind of work in HubSpot, but it still is like dependent and speaks to the task that maybe the developer has to do to set up their portal or connect something kind of on their side. So that's the thing that we have heard for years.
Cool.
And I think where it kind of fits in.
Makes sense. Yes. If the need for it is around how do we help a onboarding and service type of use case, then for sure it's something we would explore more.
Yeah. Okay. We still got a bunch more. One was, will it ever have an AI summary available of certain projects or all projects?
There is already an AI summary for a single project for context. I can see if I can I can share my screen quickly. Okay. So if you're on stream, add to stream. Now I just need to figure out how, cool. Now I see how, no, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, I haven't used this software too much. I figured it out. All right. Okay, cool. Just so everyone's familiar, you can see this right now, right? This is just a test, test instance of mine. We do have this Breeze record summary that you're seeing here within an individual project that is intended to summarize a project. We're actually thinking about some work to improve that a little bit. And just for context, I was sharing that status update feature that we're working on. We are also working on the ability to have an AI generated version of the status update that you could choose to use. The way that I've been thinking about it is that there are these two separate use cases. There's a summary of what is the project, who's working on it, what's the overall information on the project that's relevant for, say, a new collaborator who wants to learn about a project. That's what we think of as a project summary. And then a status update is more of a point in time set of information on what's recently happened and what's coming up. And so I think about those as two slightly different use cases. Right now, those are currently going to be at the individual project level is where we're working right now. We have not gone to the point of it having a summary of multiple projects at once, but it's certainly something we would consider over time.
Cool. Okay, I have a question from Noel that someone was just answering too. Is there plans to have service date with line items to start to talk to the project object or be able to trigger the creation of a project or service object or association for one-to-many and a more seamless handoff? Is that clear?
That was a mouthful.
Yeah,
I think I might need to think about that one. I guess one thing I would say is that we are currently in. Oh, that's a fancy feature. Wow.
Fancy.
A service date. Okay, so I do not work on the line item object, say, in terms of managing the properties of line items. I can say that we recently released the ability to associate a line item to a project. So that association is now starting to exist. Beyond that, in terms of how line items functions in terms of their properties and workflows, I'm a little less familiar off the top of my head.
Okay, one question that I've gotten, I think, a couple times is using the onboarding agent to create new project based on project type and template.
Yeah, so for context for the group, onboarding agent is a feature that's currently in private beta. It's a new Breeze agent from HubSpot. The intent is that it will help with the end-to-end process from a deal being closed won towards onboarding being complete. It is being built by the team that manages the CS workspace. The first use case that it's helping with is being able to automatically create a project and send an introduction email to a customer. So basically how it works is that you turn on the onboarding agent, say a deal is closed won, you then assign a CSM to the company that had the closed won deal, and then you use the onboarding agent to be able to generate the project with the right set of tasks. So that is a way that they're hoping to move in the direction of an autonomous onboarding persona, basically, to do some of the project management use case for onboarding. It currently creates the tasks based off of interpreting the deal information for for that company. And over time, as we build templates, we will be figuring out how it ties into the onboarding agent.
Cool. Okay, we've gotten this question a couple of times. Is it possible to track email activities automatically in the projects object?
So for people that are not familiar, I'll share my screen again because this actually is kind of a niche feature that could be confusing for people that might not know. Cool. Okay. Now I figured out now I've got it down. Now how to use it all. So what you're seeing is settings. And if we go to objects and we come to activities, there is an associations tab. And these are what I will call automatic activity associations. And what you can basically do is for a certain object, you can then determine, do you want it to automatically associate the activity data from that object to another object? And what we're doing is that right now project is not included here, but the intent is to add it on. So the idea would be that if you associate, so particularly for a service use case, if you associate the right contacts to the project, or the right company, the right deal, whatever you want to do, and you have activities being associated to those contacts, companies, and deals, once this feature is available, they will then automatically get associated to the project.
They're saying projects is not in there.
Correct. It's not in there, and that's something that's being worked on.
Okay, sorry. Okay, great.
Hopefully in the next month or so, it'll be available there.
Okay. Okay, we've just got 3 minutes left. Maybe let's try one deeper question. What is the thinking around milestone tracking on a project, like an enterprise account implementation, ability to see if a project is on track per milestone, or are the tasks to be used for milestone tracking and subtasks will be used to track the actions for those milestones?
Got it. So milestones is a feature that's missing from HubSpot as a fundamental, like a core capability of project management. It's something that we are looking to build probably in like the second half of next year, towards like the end of next year or so. The top requests that we see from customers are more subtask dependencies, some of like the time tracking capabilities, but probably like the next tier, you could say, of requests is around milestones, which is something that we view as very important, and it just doesn't exist, but it should.
Joshua asked, I believe this has to do with the emails associations for projects. Will that support meetings too?
Yes.
Okay. And then one other thing is for templates, what about predefining properties?
So when you create a template, you can say what properties should be part of the template. They do not currently have predefined values supported, but it's something that we will explore over time.
Okay, cool. And then last thing, where are the best resources for getting started with projects?
You know, we currently are still in progress of building a better knowledge base article. I would say that there aren't really great resources to get started with projects right now. It's still a little bit of a work in progress. It's fairly straightforward though. For like I would just encourage people to try it. It's a CRM object that functions like pretty much everything else in HubSpot. And just for people to be familiar, how it works is that you have to turn it on. So you have to come to data model. You click edit data model, and then you can see that you'll see projects here. Currently it's activated, but if you didn't have the object activated, you just click activate object. And then once you exit, it will then show up in the navigation section here of CRM under projects. And from there, it's pretty straightforward. You just create projects, you use it everywhere else like you do in the rest of HubSpot.
Yeah. I would echo Amy, just dive in, folks. It works. Setting it up, if you're familiar with HubSpot objects, it's so similar. And then the views and all of that stuff is super easy to configure. I'm not like a super technical person, and it was actually really fun to go in and check it out. I also added an article that we put together, and I'm going to be putting together a bunch of resources about what we talked about here. So Arrows will continue to share more about projects, and happy to be a resource. And if people have questions, happy to put together more there as well. Okay, we've got more questions. I'll go through the chat again afterward. And if there's anything that we missed, I will send out a follow-up email and we'll see if Mark can get those answers. This was awesome. The chat was going off. I love it. I love all the questions. And Mark, thank you so much for being so transparent and willing to go kind of so deep on all the questions that people had.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is really exciting. And I think, like I said, we'll continue to share more. Obviously, HubSpot will continue to share more. There's so many people here are in the chat. I know are really active on LinkedIn and talking about projects as well. So that's a great place to go to kind of learn what people are thinking about and how people are using projects. So that would be a place that I'd look as well.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks so much, everyone. This was fun. Bye.
Bye.